di firma Kayak gini udah oke.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Our session is about to begin. Please have a nice seat and thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the International Seminar, Transnational Climate Action, Net Zero, Energy Justice, and the Role of Education.
Peace be upon us all. Shalom. Om Swastiastu. Namo Buddhaya. Greetings of it too. Praise be to God Almighty, who for his blessings, mercy, and grace, we can all gather in the international session, Transnational Climate Action, Net Zero, Energy Justice, and the Role of Education.
Allow us to introduce ourselves. I'm Tezar Fadila. Together with my college,
and I'm Windri Anggraini as the Masters of Ceremony for this event.
We respectfully welcome Honorable Professor Dr. Cecep Darmawan, S.I.P, S.P.D, S.A.P, S.H, M.H, M.Sc, as the Dean of Faculty of Social Science Education, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. Honorable Dr. Fitri Rahma Fitria, M.Sc, as the Vice Dean of Faculty of Social Science Education, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia.
The Honorable Dr. Bagja Waluya, SPD, MPD, as a Vice Dean for Student Affairs, Faculty of Social Science Education, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia.
Honorable Dr. Lili Somantri, SPD.
The Honorable Dr. Iwan Setiawan, SPD, M.Sc, as the Head of Geography Education Study Program, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia.
Honorable Dr. Lili Somantri, SPD, M.Sc, as the Head of Geographic and Information Science Study Program, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia.
The Honorable Dr. Nanindrianawati Sugito, STMT, as the head of Geographic Information Mapping Survey Study Program, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia.
The Honorable Mrs. Annisa Joviani Astari, MEL, M.Sc, Ph.D., Dr. Adam Tyson, Dr. Stanislaus Risadi Apresian, S.I.P, M.A., Dr. Niken Priliandita, S.T, M.Sc, Professor John Lovett as the speakers of today's international seminar.
And the Honorable all of the lecturers of Geography Department.
As well as all the guests that we are proud of. To strengthen the love for our country, let us sing the national anthem, Indonesia Raya. Distinguished guests, please rise for the singing the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Before starting today's international seminar, allow us to announce the schedule for today's event. Singing of Indonesia National Anthem,
Opening remarks,
keynote welcome,
documentation session,
delivery of international seminar materials,
panel discussion,
awarding,
documentation session.
and closing.
The next agenda is the delivery of remarks. The first remark will be delivered by the head of Geography Education Study Program, Dr. Iwan Setiawan, SPD, M.Sc.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Gak ada yang jawab. Okay, thank you to the honorable speakers, Dean of Faculty of Social Science Education, esteemed professor at Department of Geography, Head of Geographic Information Science Study Program, Head of Surveying, Mapping, and Geographic Information Study Program, and all distinguished participants who have joined us today. It is with great pleasure and deep appreciation that I welcome you all to this international seminar on transnational climate action, net zero, energy, justice, and the role of the education. On behalf on the Geography Education Study Program, Faculty of Science, Social Science and Education, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, I am honored to open this seminar. Today's theme invites us to reflect on the critical intersection between climate action, justice, and education, a thread that lies at the heart of global sustainability effort. The climate crisis knows no border. It is a transnational challenge that demands collaborative, inclusive, and equitable solutions. Achieving net zero emission is not merely a scientific or technological goal. It is a deeply human one, rooted in fairness, solidarity, and the right to a livable future. In this context, education plays an indispensable role. As educators, researchers, and learners, we have the responsibility to cultivate climate literacy, empowering communities, and inspire systematic transformation. This seminar aims to create space for such meaningful dialogue, drawing insight from diverse disciplines, perspectives, and regions. We are privileged to have with us today esteemed speakers who will share invaluable experience and knowledge. I hope this forum will spark new ideas, strengthen our networks, and most importantly, deepen our commitment to a more just and sustainable world. Let us use this opportunity not just to discuss, but also to act, to connect, and to lead together. With that, I officially open the International Seminar on Transnational Climate Action, Net Zero, Energy Justice, and the Role of Education. May our discussion today be fruitful and impactful. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you to Dr. Iwan Setiawan for the remarks.
For the next agenda is delivery of keynote welcome that will be delivered by the Vice Dean of Faculty of Social Science Education, Dr. Fitri Rahma Fitria, M.Sc.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning, distinguished guests. Head of the Geography Education Study Program, and also Vice Dean of Student Affairs, Dr. Bagja Waluya, all the lecturers and students, and also our esteemed speaker, Dr. Niken Priliandita, and also Dr. Adam Tyson and Prof. John Lovett. Maybe Prof. John Lovett is on the online. And Dr. Risadi Apresian, and also Dr. Annisa Joviani Astari. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It is both an honor and a pleasure for me to welcome you all here to this international seminar regarding transnational climate action, net zero, energy justice, and the role of education. And I also would like to extend our apologies as our Dean of the Faculty of Social Science cannot attend this, this very important event due to other official duties. And he has entrusted me to represent the faculty to open this valuable seminar. I do believe that the theme of this seminar is highly relevant to the Indonesian context, where the climate change, energy transition, and also environmental justice are pressing our national issues. As a country with rich in natural resources and also vulnerable to climate risk, Indonesia must position education at the heart of its sustainability agenda. So this seminar provides a valuable platform for exchanging ideas, research, and also strategies that transcend national boundaries and also support our collective transition toward a just and net zero future. We are truly grateful to all the speakers and participants for being part of this important dialogue. Let us use this opportunity to build stronger academic network and drive real impact through collaboration. So then with that, by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I now officially open the International Seminar on Transnational Climate Action, Net Zero, Energy Justice, and the Role of Education. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Dr. Fitri Rahma Fitria for the keynote. Welcome.
Next is the documentation session. Dear guests, please follow the instruction from the documentation team. For the documentation session is divided into three sessions. First session, speaker and chairman of the Geography Education Study Program. Second session with all lectures. Third session with all participants.
Dear students in the second floor, please stand for the documentation station.
Please stand up.
Dear guests, please have a nice seat. Thank you. And for the next is delivering seminal materialization by all of our speakers today. Mistress Annisa Joviani Astari MEL, M.Sc, Ph.D. with topic Pathway to Net Zero, Global Commitments, Challenges, and Opportunities for Climate Justice.
Dr. Adam Tyson with topic Equitable Transition to Net Zero.
Dr. Stanislaus Risadi Apresian, S.I.P. MA, with topic Political Realities and Practices in Energy Justice in Indonesia.
Dr. Niken Priliandita S.T. M.Sc with topic Climate Governance Towards Net Zero Emission in Indonesia.
Professor John Lovett with topic Education as a Catalyst for Climate Transformation.
But before that, allow us to read the curriculum vitae of our extraordinary moderator, Dr. Tania Septi Anggraini STMT.
Dr. Tania Septi Anggraini STMT is a lecturer in Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, Bandung, Indonesia. For the educational background, doctors in Geodesy and Geometric Engineering, Bandung Institute of Technology, Ph.D. in Environmental Remote Sensing, Chiba University, Japan, Master of Science in Geodesy and Geomatics Engineering, Bandung Institute of Technology, and Bachelor of Science in Geodesy and Geomatic Engineering, Bandung Institute of Technology.
Without further ado, please welcome Dr. Tania Septi Anggraini STMT.
The Honorable Dean of the Faculty of Social Science Education, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, Professor Dr. Cecep Darmawan, the Honorable, the First Vice Dean of Faculty of Social Science Education, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, Dr. Fitri Rahma Fitria, and the Honorable, the Third Vice Dean of Faculty of Social Science Education, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, Dr. Bagja Waluya. The Honorable Heads of Study Program in Department of Geography, Dr. Iwan Setiawan, Dr. Lili Sumantri, and Dr. Nanin. And the Honorable of Lecturers of the Faculty of Social Science Education, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, and all our esteemed guests, students, and seminar participants whom I truly admire. Good morning and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the international seminar entitled Transnational Climate Action, Net Zero, Energy Justice, and the Role of Education. This seminar is proudly hosted by the Geography Education Study Program, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, in collaboration with the University of Leeds, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Resilience Development Initiative or RDI, BRIDA, East Kalimantan, and the ISF Indonesia Net Zero Network. Thank you for joining us both online, offline at the FPIPS Auditorium and online via Zoom. And I'm Tania Septi Anggraini, and I will be your moderator today. We are honored to have 5 distinguished speakers today who will share their expertise and insight on the intersections of the climate action, justice, and education. And the first speaker will be, please provide us the CV of the speakers. And the first is Dr. Niken Priliandita S.T. M.Sc. Dr. Niken is a lecturer from School of Architecture Planning and Policy Development in Institut Teknologi Bandung. Dr. Niken earned her Ph.D. in Kyoto University and her master from AIT, Thailand. And she specialized in urban and regional planning, renewable energy system, and energy climate governance. And her research includes spatial configurations in public space, renewable energy, business model, and policy implementation for palm oil-based bioenergy development. And please give her an applause. And let's move to the second speaker. The second speaker is Dr. Adam Tyson. Dr. Adam is a senior lecturer at the University of Leeds, focusing on environmental politics and energy policy at the European and global level. And Dr. Adam is also the chair of the Association of the Southeast Asia Studies in UK. Since joining Leeds in 2011, he has led numerous international research projects across the UK and the Asia Pacific. And his expertise includes the comparative politics and political transition in Southeast Asia and China, ethnic conflict, administrative reform, and environmental sustainability. And he is also the highly regarded teacher and mentor for undergraduate to doctoral students. And please give him an applause. Let's move to the third speaker, Dr. Stanislaus Risadi Apresian, S.I.P. M.A. Dr. Apres is a lecturer from Universitas Katolik Parahyangan, or UNPAR, with deep expertise in international relations. Dr. Apres holds a Ph.D. in politics and international studies from the University of Leeds. And he has contributed to global research projects and published on national adaptations policy and palm oil development in Indonesia. And please give him an applause. And let's move to the fourth speaker, Professor John Lovett. Professor John Lovett is a chair in the Global Challenge at the University of Leeds, specializing in environmental policy and natural resource management. Interdisciplinary expert, he has led biodiversity conservation initiatively likely establishing the Eastern Arts as a global hotspot and advised major project includes Tanzania Lower Council hydropower. And his current work focuses on renewable energy and climate policy, notably from the African Clean Energy Research Alliance. Previously, he taught sustainable development and created the MOOC One World Collide. And right now, he will not join us in this auditorium. However, in this afternoon, he will join us throughout the Zoom meeting. Okay, please give him an applause. And let's move to the fifth or our last speaker, Annisa Joviani Astari, Ph.D. She is a lecturer at the Geographic Education Universitas Pendidikan, Indonesia. And she holds a degree from University of Leeds, specializing in sustainable development goals. And her expertise includes the sustainable development, ecology, and environmental science, policy, climate change, and GIS expert. And please give her an applause. Okay, so let us now begin for the first sessions with the presentation from our first speaker. Our first speaker is Dr. Annisa Joviani. So I will invite Dr. Annisa Joviani to come forward and have a seat in front of us. Dr. Annisa, your time is 20 minutes, and now time is yours.
Hey, can you hear me all? Yeah, it's clear, right? Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thank you very much. It is actually truly an honor to open this session. I'm from UPI, but I'm starting this presentation because I will be a bridge for all the speakers. Okay, my Honorable Dean and Vice Dean of FPIPS UPI, the head of study program, Dr. Iwan, and also Saik, Dr. Lily, and then SPIG, Dr. Nanin, as well as esteemed professors, Prof. Mamat here, and also all our colleague here, lecturer from Department of Geography. Also, participants who are here in the first floor and the second floor. Hi, good morning. Yeah, and then those who are attending a Zoom. Okay, since I start this presentation, I will just give briefly introduction before Adam and Dr. Niken and Dr. Apres going into detail. Yeah, actually it is quite a deja vu, yeah, for me, Adam and Apres, because in 2019, I guess, we have a road show going from Unpad and ITB. We also have this kind of seminar talking about our research, especially about palm oil. And now Dr. Niken join us as well. So thank you very much. Okay, so actually I will give just short about my presentation outline today. Please, next slide. Okay, just only short about what is actually net zero, why net zero matters, how to achieve a net zero, what is the global commitments occurring nowadays, what is the pathways, and what are actually the opportunities for action. Okay, next slide. Okay, so what is actually net zero? It's actually a balancing emitted and removed greenhouse gases. So we emitted a lot because human activities release greenhouse gases, and then greenhouse gases trap excess solar energy, and then it's trapped in the atmosphere. And how to remove it? That's how we actually to balance it. So net zero doesn't mean like actually zero, but how to balance the emitted and the removed greenhouse gases. This is why we need to achieve this climate neutrality, and it will involve also a carbon reduction and carbon removal. And because now we know that climate change effects are intensifying, we have more frequent and severe storms, floods, and droughts, and we have rising global temperatures, melting glacier and polar ice. That's why we need to concern about this. Next slide, please. Okay, so why actually net zero matters? We know that we have a climate protection. Yeah, we need to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. Storm, sea level rise, heat waves. This is what we occurring today. We can feel it. We can see the news globally. Everything happened occurring recently. And then there are commitments, including, for example, Paris Agreement. We need to stay on track within below 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is as a goal agreed by the global community. Because upper than 1.5 degrees Celsius, it will be a more severe impact, which is sometimes irreplaceable. So it's also will be harm us in the future. And then there are co-benefits, healthier air and a more resilient environment for us. And if we come back to the sustainable development concept, it is actually the intergenerational equity to ensure a livable planet for our future generation. Next slide, please. Okay, how actually to achieve net zero? Yeah, but of course the goal is to prevent dangerous climate disruption. because net zero balance emission with removal from the atmosphere. If we see the graphic, we can see where net zero is coming. And then if we successfully can have net zero, then we go down to the negative emission, which means we reduce more than what we have emitted. So that will be negative emission. But now it is, of course, challenging to reach the net zero first and then later the negative emissions. So we know the conventional mitigation techniques, for example, we reduce emission through cleaner energy, efficient transport, etc., although it is still very applicable, of course. But now we have to actively remove this carbon with what? With enhanced, for example, natural carbon sinks. We know that the green area is needed for a city. We know that in city is minimum till 30%. So at least it can act as a natural carbon sinks. But of course, there is also approach related with technology. For example, we know that carbon capture and storage is a new technology. We catch the carbon from the atmosphere and then put down in the earth. But it's still very expensive technology, of course, and very risky, I guess, yeah. And then what is a target timeline? Most countries will have a target to reach net zero around 2050. And then because the targets, it will be continue increasing negative emission after 2050 to stay below 1.5 degrees Celsius. Next slides, please. Okay. This is the global commitments overview. So actually 150 plus countries with net zero targets. Here, each country have different targets each year. So we can see which countries will reach the net zero first, because other countries have different abilities, especially we know the developed and developing country, and it's also related to funding, etc. So each country has a different path, of course. But we know that in the Paris Agreement in 2015, and then the Conference of Parties, it already stated that all the countries aim to reach this net zero. And then, of course, the government cannot do everything by themselves. Non-state actors join in. And especially us as academia, we have actually a bigger role as well. And also all of you as students and then non-government organization, etc., we can go together, collaborate and everything to reach what we have to do to reach this net zero commitment. Next slide. Okay, what actually the pathways? The pathways to net zero will encompass a range of strategic efforts in many sectors. For example, in energy transition, we can transitioning from fossil fuels, of course, to low emissions renewable energy resource, along with improving energy efficiency to reduce losses. And we can have land use optimizing forest function as natural carbon sinks, and transforming agriculture toward low emission practice. And then also we can have another sector, which is industry. Yeah, industry has a very important role actually to reduce this carbon, because net zero is not only about carbon, because a lot of other greenhouse gases, for example, NO2, SO2. So this is kind of gases actually to be reduced in the atmosphere. And then reducing environmental impacts through green manufacturing and minimizing industrial waste by adopting circular economy principles. So circular economy like zero waste. So from cradle to grave, it will be like circular, so zero waste. So continuous production for the industry. And then in transportation, we can accelerating vehicle electrification Although we know the nickel things is still debatable, of course, but yeah, that's part of the solution actually. And of course, strengthening public transportation system will play very big role for that. Okay. And like I said before, there are carbon removal technologies and there are the nature-based solution. We can have the forest, peatland, and mangroves. Also, there is part of technology, which is the carbon capture and storage, and then also direct air capture. The technology is now developing a lot. So we hope, of course, in the future, the technologies become developed, mature, so we can use it as the main tools to actually actively remove carbon from the atmosphere. Okay, here are the opportunities for action. So if we reach net zero, what we can have then? So green economy and job creation, of course, because transitioning to green economy can generate millions of new green jobs, yeah, and then new projects, environment and net zero thing. And then there are strengthening climate capacity and resilience regarding the climate finance. And then we can achieve net zero, we'll support multiple SDGs. Here, we can relate it to SDGs 7, 11, and 13, related to the climate action, sustainable city, and then clean energy. And we can have international collaboration. This is what we are doing now with the, of course, speakers here. And then also we have the Indonesian Net Zero Network. We are trying to find something new. What can we do as academics? And then now maybe Prof. John later will also discuss about this, because we try also to start with the project at the IKN, what actually need to do with IKN to be a smart city, also a project to reach this net zero. And then there are nature-based solutions are, of course, it's cost-effective, inclusive, and dual benefit pathway for climate action. This is actually the cheapest one. And the nature-based solution is actually can give dual benefit. Of course, if we conserve like one area for green area, it can be multiple functions, yeah, to capture the carbon, and then for playing ground for some kids. Also, we get healthier air in the city, etc. So I think this is opportunities for action of what actually we can get if we try to reach this net zero commitment. Okay, so like I told you, my presentation is quite short because I just try bridge to another speaker. So this is a conclusion and actually call to action to all of you. So first, net zero is urgent, of course. It is feasible and will be beneficial if we try to reach that. It requires systemic, inclusive, and science-based approach. And then it's challenging, of course. Challenges are real. It's expensive. And then, of course, we have the policy problem, etc. But so are the opportunities. The opportunities is there. So we can try to find something how to reach that. And then collective action today shapes the climate of tomorrow. We know that our global warming problem is actually our problem together, the whole world. So collective action, it will be beneficial, not only, for example, from myself, from us, but we are together to reach actually this problem. And then both nature-based and technology-based need to be balanced. So we need to, we cannot only say that, okay, this is the technology solution for this, but we have this nature-based solution. So balancing the two of them will be very useful for us to reach this commitment. Okay, I think that's all from me. Later we will have discussion with our speakers. So thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Please give an applause for Dr. Annisa. And Dr. Annisa, please be seated again. Thank you very much, Dr. Annisa, for the incredible presentations. And right now, I will invite the second speaker. The second speaker will be Dr. Adam Tyson. Okay. Dr. Adam Tyson, your turn is 20 minutes, and time is yours right now.
30 menit.
20 minutes.
20 menit. Okay. Mudah-mudahan 15 menit. Okay. Yeah. All right. Terima kasih. Thank you. Right. Okay. Hello Bandung. Right. So, yes, connected to the previous presentation, I'll talk a little bit about the fragmented net zero landscape and the allure of business as usual. Okay. So a little bit more controversial, perhaps, a little bit more disruptive, but still also, as Prof. Annisa has presented, is very much just background information. So next, please. So my brief talk, mudah-mudahan pendek, is inspired by a blog written in 2023 by the UK National Centre for Social Research. You can check their website. And it introduces a problem, which is there are so many different definitions of net zero. And then I will also include a provocation that net zero might actually be a trap, okay? Now you may disagree with that, mungkin tidak setuju, but it's worth asking, okay? All right, next please. Okay, net zero originates from actually climate science, not from politics. And if you look at it, actually, Professor Miles Allen, dari Oxford, is a physicist who is widely known as the originator of the net zero term, okay? So nanti Google Miles Allen, ya, dan membaca tentang dia. Although, if you look at the real inspiration for this global consensus, I recommend going to Google and checking Carl Sagan, okay, who gave a testimony to the US Congress in 1985, right? A very long time ago. We already knew about global warming, right? Mungkin di sini ada orang yang ingat Carl Sagan because he's very famous for a wonderful way of seeing the planet Earth from a great distance. Does anyone know the famous, what Carl Sagan is really well known for? Can anyone, ada yang ingat Carl Sagan? Do we know what he said? Anyone? How he gave a beautiful characterization of planet Earth. I'm sure our colleagues probably know. No? So coba ini, Google pale blue dot. Yeah, is it not picking up? Really? That's probably my fault. Oh. Okay, we'll turn that off then. Maaf, ini lebih kelas. Okay, maaf ya. Okay. All right. Saya nyanyi sedikit Hello Bandung. Tidak. Okay, come on. Right. So Carl Sagan, coba Google pale blue dot. Ya, ini sangat menarik. Yeah. Anyway, so, and if you watch the YouTube video of Carl Sagan's testimony to the US Congress, very, very wonderful. 1985. Yeah, global warming was crystal clear. Are we getting feedback or are we okay? It's okay. Yeah. Anyway, you all know greenhouse gases, right? This is in the news all the time. And Annisa already defined this very clearly. Is it okay? Right. Oh dear. Anyway, as we're saying, banyak definisi. You know how much we put in and how much that's the balance. But yang sangat penting, also very much, Annisa knows this, how you operationalize net zero, not just climate science. There's only so much you can do with the science, then have to actually operationalize change. This is where it gets very messy through social, political, and economic systems that are not really designed to achieve climate outcomes, right? They're designed to achieve growth, relate power, and therefore we have a very fundamental problem. Ada persoalan yang sangat umum. Okay. There's a new term for this, is a geological net zero, right? The one, yeah. There's another term just to make things more difficult for all the students. A newer term, look at the Oxford website, Professor Al, can actually now use technologies to permanently store carbon underground, right? That's very expensive, very risky. So what we're looking at are technologies for permanent carbon storage underground. You can use old mining shafts, different ways in which hopefully rapid. Please, if you are interested in this, is an area for next generation of. Is there a possibility? And now my main proposition, fragmentation, not a great thing. So this occurs mostly at the non-state level, business. Is it okay? So why is this so difficult? If we move away from the state, business model to net zero is the only way, I think, seriously make a difference for our climate models. So therefore, we're going to look a little bit at how businesses actually disclose what it is they're emitting and how to then take action against that. Do you trust companies have full disclosure? How do you achieve? Okay, next. Question one, is net zero a trap? It's a very controversial point, and it's not my point. You can look at, you can Google Dyke, Watson, and Knorr to read this. Not my idea. So what they say is basically these three climate scientists have spent their career dedicated to net zero. Now they feel a little bit, guilty in that maybe net zero is not the right benchmark. Again, as Annisa reminded already, net zero is actually very simple, right? But in reality, what these climate scientists suggest to us, have we actually used net zero as a license, recklessly burn now and pay later? Actually, what we see is emissions continuing to increase, possibly because net zero 2050 is too far away and it doesn't provoke immediate action. I would prefer net zero today rather than net zero 2050, because we respond much better to challenges today than challenges, right? And so actually, you have to think about this question. You don't have an answer, but it just means that don't assume that net zero 2050, despite all the climate consensus, is the right political campaign support. The point is freedom to doubt, the freedom to challenge, otherwise very well established, is your freedom. Please think very carefully. Actually, these arguments, and they're not very popular, cast doubt, right, on net zero. Okay, next, please. And so here's a simple question. Well, what emissions should actually count when an organization is adding up? Where does responsibility lie? Complex supply chains. So disclosure, who is going to actually share the information, right? Now, there are ways to generalize about the amount of emissions trapped here and there. You can measure those. Where do they come from? Disclosing and admitting those emissions originate from certain locations, certain businesses, certain countries. That disclosure is often voluntary. How reliable is it? You've got to really think carefully about disclosure and verification. So organization A discloses this, but then we have to verify. That's a lengthy, difficult process. So how much transparency exists? Now, if you think about corporate disclosure, there's often three scopes. One is our direct admission. Two is indirect. Three is the hardest. These are the supply and value chain emissions. So downstream, upstream. Well, they're not directly our emission, but it's related to our business model. How do we account for those? So as young research, the students, I think scope 3 emissions, very interesting topic for all of you. Tripsy topic. They're definitely for research. Fair. Okay, next, please. It's a good example. Science-based targets is a global standard for corporate disclosure. But I think this image is really important because it's all about business, right? So the main motivation for adopting initiatives and disclosure is to promote, the reputation of boost productivity. Essentially, conservation is net zero. It has to be profitable. You think very carefully. Okay, next. Should companies be able to then say, well, let's continue with business as usual, but let's buy offsets? You accept that as legitimate. So again, Miles Allen, one of the academics who coined net zero, now is questioning the effectiveness of these policies. Says, well, basically relying on natural carbon sinks or offsets which companies pay for is not really stopping global warming. Corporations turn to these offsets to claim that these are maybe net zero achievements, utilizing different carbon storage options, but actually continuing increased production, therefore sort of false equivalent might be emission, CO2 capture, therefore actually companies, other organizations contributing to global warming while appearing to be supporting net, right? So it's a warning. Okay, next please, we're almost there. So where does this, you can check most of the, where do we aggregate our knowledge of exposure? WC is one example. I just went to Los Angeles, summarizes main global findings. Major companies are committing to net zero, but the problem with what we have, knowledge we have, is that there are gaps in data, cost executive and board level oversight, all under confidence in our current modeling, corporate and verification. So highest level research we're on the right track. Still big gap. What we know, how much I would really focus on. Finally, so this is it. I would say, then, given the fragment, the potential for net zero trap, sort of move away from net zero, net negative, highly fragmented. Sorry for this. And this supposed trap by embracing something different, something immediate. I think I do have one example. Which I think might give you some inspiration. So that's the Rimba Collective. I don't know if anyone's heard of that, but I think this is a very innovative, financially driven model for nature-based solutions, which fits into this idea that conservationism has to be profitable. This can be done. So if you're interested in this research, check out the Rimba Collective. Say, well, net zero seems too far away from us in our daily lives. There are things we can do. And if you want a theoretical framework for some of this, I think the public trust doctrine will really help you when you put your academic lens on this. Because again, as university students, you want to do really well for exams and essays and thesis. You need a good theoretical framework for that. Great, so that's it. Thank you so much, and sorry for the microphone. All right, terima kasih. See you later.
Okay, thank you very much for Dr. Adam for your presentations, and please be seated again. And let's move to the third presentation. Will be held by the Dr. Apres. Dr. Apres, I will invite you in front to come front to come. Yeah. So your time is 20 minutes, and time is yours right now. Yeah. Okay, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sampurasun. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Pak Iwan, all lecturers, and then all students, and also online participants. Hi there. So I'd like to follow up Adam, because Adam is my guru. He was my supervisor. I think Adam has presented a good point about the fragmentation of net zero. Is it a trap? So we should not only believe that net zero is good, because not every net zero project is a good one. So that's my opinion. So I can say, yes, it might be a trap. And I would like also to follow the lead of Annisa, a good friend of mine, that has presented a good mapping of how the global commitment about net zero. And do you notice that the global commitment, it should be like 2050, but how about Indonesia? Do you notice when will we achieve the net zero target? Is it 2050? Of course not. So it's a decade later, 2060. So please, next please. So what is net zero? So Annisa has described it very well, like with a detailed explanation. So I like to make an illustration. So I try to find a good illustration to show how it works. So basically, when you own a corporations or company, so you emit carbon, right? And you must offset that carbon, reduce that carbon. By what? So you can fund environmental project such as reforestation. So for example, do you know M.S. product? So it's originally from Leeds, and we can find the store in Indonesia. So M.S., they have money, they have the capital, so they fund a project in Indonesia, for example, for reforestation. So that's the illustration of offsetting or absorbing the CO2. Okay, next please. Are we on track? So I'll say no, not at all. So we are not on track. So Annisa has described that many countries set their target behind 2060. Our government, the Indonesian government, say that so we should set a realistic target. But I have talked with a lot of activists, and most activists, is there an activist that they said that realistic target is unrealistic? Yeah. So if we say that 2060 is realistic, so it might be too late for us to take action. So I agree with Adam that we should take action now, not later in 2050 and wait until 2060. And based on the data from the UNFCCC, so we should reduce our emission by 43% by 2030. But until now, we are not on track. We only can reduce 2.6%. So it's a disaster, yeah, by looking at this trajectory or projection. Next, please. So Indonesia's net zero 2060 ambitious agenda, I would say it's not ambitious, but yeah, the government has done many projects related to net zero or energy transition, but I'd like to bring the intriguing question raised by Adam. Is it a trap? So we should worry about this, because not every net zero project is a good one. Next, please. So I raise a main question for today's presentation. To what extent does the ambitious net zero 2060 target distribute gains and losses unequally? So yes, of course, net zero projects such as determination or closure of PLTU atau coal-fired plant in Cirebon, for example, and then massive industrial park in Morowali for electric vehicle battery. Is it a good one? So who benefits from that kind of project? So that's my main questions today. Next, please. So before focusing on two case study in Cirebon and Morowali, I would like to present like a concept that might help us understand about the impact of energy transition. So what is just transition? So that's the description, but we can focus on the main concept there, like a low carbon future, and then trade-offs between energy and development, and then carbon growth. So this is, I would like to highlight this, so that all nations can benefit equally from the transition, not only in the Western countries. So can we benefit from this energy transition? Yes, we can benefit. We might benefit from this, but at what cost? Environmental degradation, deforestation, and then the second one is energy justice. Energy justice, so I use the definition coined by Sophocles. The pursuit of global energy system fairly distributes both the benefits and the burden. So we don't only talk about benefits, but we also talk about the burden, like the unintended negative impacts. And it should be inclusive. So that's like the main point that I would like to highlight, inclusive energy decision-making. So it should include or involve vulnerable communities at the coastal areas or at the remote areas. Next, please. So what is just energy transition? So I bring this definition from the document, the Indonesian government document, Just Energy Transition Partnership. So the idea is great. The idea is so ideal, sometimes utopias. Energy transition in which the condition resulting in social, economic, and environmental risks and opportunity are equitably distributed. So that's the ideal condition. But how about the realities? So we can check later. A just transition also affirmatively enables vulnerable, undeserved stakeholders to participate. So is it happening, like the government involving vulnerable communities at the remote areas, at the mining sites? So that's a big question that we should answer, or we should speak up about that. Next, please. So I'll try this one. So I'm trying to use Mentimeter. So please use your phone to scan this barcode. There is what is it? Polling. So the main question is the termination of coal-fired plant in Cirebon in 2035 is a good one. So there is 3 answers.
Please give him an applause for the incredible presentation.
Let's see how it works. Do you think it's a good one if we close the PLTU in Cirebon? Yes, no, or not necessarily, atau belum tentu? So I'll give you like 1 minute. Well, while waiting you to take the survey, so I'd like to give you a brief introduction about this plan. Like the government of Indonesia aiming to achieve net zero, so it has to create some policy that lead to the net zero project. And one of the policy is the termination or shutdown coal-fired plant in Cirebon. Okay, based on recent polling, you can also view the polling on your phone. So the most chosen answer is yes, it's a good one. And then the second one is not necessarily or belum tentu. And the third one is no. So yeah, I'd like to show that we cannot see the government project black and white. So it might be yes, good, of course, because it will reduce the pollution, especially for people living there in Cirebon, but also at what cost? Next, please. So this is an investigation did by Bandung Bergerak. Maybe you know about this independent media in Bandung, based in Bandung. I think it's a good independent media that we should read. Ensuring that the future of coal-fired plant workers in the post-termination. So don't only focus on the closure, but also focus on the future of the workers. It happens in the United States long time ago, 50 decades ago. In 1970, so it happened there that the United States closed the coal-fired plant and so many unemployment. So we don't want to repeat that kind of disaster. So we should need a clear plan. So not only the closure, but also plan to ensure that the workers and the people living there depends on this PLTU, ensure, yeah, they get better lives, not more disaster. Next, please. Anyone joining this Gaikindo in Indonesia International Auto Show? So it's quite popular because we can see a lot of electric vehicle from China. So there are 60 brands, like you name it, a lot of Chinese electric vehicle with affordable price for middle income classes, but not for the middle low income classes. So this is the main agenda to achieve net zero in transportation sector, boosting electric vehicle industries, but at what cost? So that's the main question. Next, please. Anyone from Central Sulawesi or Morowali? Perhaps you can have a better story about this. So the battery is supported by nickel industry in Morowali. Next, please. So in the Indonesian government built Indonesia Morowali Industrial Park for nickel industry to support the battery industry nationally, but at what cost? Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah. So you can see that it's surrounding the area of IMIP, Indonesia Morowali Industrial Park, and there are so many Chinese, China's investment in this area to support the nickel industries. And you can see that the water is like cappuccino, but without latte art. Yeah, cappuccino is great, but this is not that great. So it's a disaster. It caused a problem for fishermen there, and then also the respiratory problems. Based on the data in 2023, there was 55,000 cases of respiratory problems in just one puskesmas. Yeah, so the people in Jakarta, in Bandung, can enjoy the electric vehicle, but how about the communities there in Morowali, in coastal areas of Morowali? Do they also enjoy the excitement of driving electric vehicles? So they are struggling with healthcare facilities. And in Jakarta, we can see that from this case, benefits and losses are distributed unequally. In this case of the acceleration of electric vehicle industries. Next, please. So this is the summary of my presentation. So achieving net zero agenda might cause unintended negative impacts, and we should consider every possibility of risk, and we should mitigate that. And considering inclusive approach, did the government involve the communities there when they build the industrial park in Morowali? I'm not sure yet. And then providing clear grievance mechanism for community or vulnerable communities. I think that's all from my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation, Dr. Apres. Let's move to the first presentation. The first presenter is from Dr. Niken. So I will invite Dr. Niken to come forward with me. Dr. Niken, your time is 20 minutes and please give your presentation.
Check. Okay, good morning, everybody. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's nice to be here. Thank you, UPI and then Ibu Annisa for inviting me here. I think maybe looking at the speakers here, we are like John connection, yeah. We are here through Professor John Lovett's relation, I think. But yeah, so what I want to present here today, what I'm going to talk about is actually part of our research. So although I'm here as the representative of the RDI, but in another life, I'm also a lecturer in ITB, and I involved in the center of the climate change of ITB. We had a multi-years research at that time. It's relating with the how to achieve the climate change targets. It was like 5 or 6 years ago. So at that time, 2019, the concept was to achieve the NDC target, the nationally determined contribution target. But since this is a 4 years research, so there's some newer concept coming in, like NZE, the net zero emission, and then later on the just energy transition concept. And it's somehow connected to each other. But yeah, so let me start by telling you a little bit about the research. Next slide, yeah. It's part of a consortium between 5 countries in 4 continents, between the Germany or EU, and then Brazil. We have also partners in India and South Africa. It's funded by the Federal Ministry of the Environment or BMU in Germany. And it was a 4-year study. The title is somewhat very long, but they made it into a shorten as a SNAP-fee research. I think Ibu Zahara here also involved as the research assistant. So we had 2 different teams. We divided into 2 different teams. Zahara is in another team and me is in this team, researching on the Indonesian energy sector. So maybe later on you can access our research report on that link. Yeah, but so next slide. Okay, so the research that I'm going to present here is the result of the last year, the 4th year result. But we already had the result from since the 1st year. And I'm happy that Adam and then Ibu Annisa and Mas Apres already define and tell us about net zero or NZE, because it means that I don't have to explain it anymore in this presentation. But yeah, so the net zero emission target of Indonesia is 2060. At that time, we already started our research here, and we heard a lot about how the Indonesian government still negotiating the targets itself. And even at that time, between our partners in other countries, we also had a heated argument whether we, what is NZE, what is net zero emission, whether we are going to use the term in our study or whether we are going to use the term of carbon neutral in our study. But since it is more popular, the NZE, and so yeah, we decided to incorporate that. Although as I mentioned before, at first we only focus on the NDC target, the nationally determined contribution, which is the commitment for each country globally to reduce the emission targets. So for your information, that Indonesia at first, we are committing to reduce carbon emission to 29% in 2025 without the financial aid from the international. But if we got the aid, then our commitment is 41%. Recently, maybe 2 or last year, the NDC target of Indonesia is enhanced to almost 32%, yeah, and up to 43% with the international support. And the NZE is still in 2060. Although, yeah, as Mas Apres said, most of the countries aiming on 2050. Yeah, so we try to investigate it. Why that the government is still, even I heard that at first they are aiming for 2070. Yeah, but maybe because of international pressure or else, yeah, at least Indonesia is targeting on 2060. And then another target, yeah, there are so many targets that our government set. The renewable energy mix in CAN, the National Energy Policy, is set of at least 23% in 2050. And even I heard that in the draft, it's now increased into 31%. So there are so many targets, so many targets. But according to our findings, we also, Indonesia, hasn't achieved those targets. And maybe the targets are already mentioned here. The carbon emission reduction, maybe only half of the target is achieved in 2023. I'm not so sure how accurate the calculation is, but it's more or less half of the targets. But we also have to take a look at our unique position. Here, our team try to understand that actually Indonesia has trilemma in energy sector. First is that we are still developing countries. We are still a developing country, and we have obligation to provide energy to all the people of Indonesia. Internationally or globally, we also have the obligation to reduce carbon emission. And then another thing is that actually we are trying to defend our energy sovereignty because Indonesia has abundant sources of energy. We can, or we have the autonomy to decide which type of energy sources that we are going to use. And currently, fossil fuel is still mainly our main sources of energy. So I call it the coal dilemma, coal, producing electricity, for example, from coal is cheaper than the other type of energy. So this is why we found that beyond the ambitious energy emission reduction, the achievement is still relatively slow. And so we try to understand why it's slow by using or by developing a climate governance model or a framework, probably in the next slide. Here, we try to develop a framework to examine climate governance, including the policies of Indonesia, in order to better understand what is the state of our climate change policy and also governance. So mainly, this framework is developed through extensive literature review. We obtain this, or we develop this framework mainly from Rudinger and also Lee. So we create some sort of 4 pillars framework. We understand that in order to investigate a climate governance model, we need to know the key actors or who is having the authority in the energy sector of Indonesia, and then what are the key policies and how the policy is formulated, and the last one is the financing for implementing those policies. Okay, I think next one. Yeah, maybe I will go one by one, discussing the each pillar. but mainly only the result that I going to explain here. After extensive interviews with many parties, including government officials, private sectors, NGOs, activists, academicians, we try to understand who are the actors and the institutions that are having the authority to reduce the carbon emission in energy sector in Indonesia. We had mapped the stakeholders and the institutions, although I'm not presented in here because it's like a very fast spider web. Everyone is like, connecting with each other. But in general, the main actors in Indonesian energy sector is the Bappenas, and then Ministry of Environmental and Forest at that time. Maybe now is only Ministry of Environment, and then Ministry of Energy, and then one other institution that we think involved here is the DEN, or Dewan Energi Nasional, the National Energy Council. So we found out that there's a cliche problem here, or we call it the ego sectoral. They are working in silos and often not really collaborating or aligning their program with each other. So that's one problem that we found. And the policies itself, we also examine the policies. For example, the enhanced NDC, the NZE, the National Energy Grand Strategy. I think this policy, the National Energy Grand Strategy, is going to be made by the Ministry of Energy, but I don't think now it's published. Maybe they revise it or something. And the RUEN, or Rencana Umum Energi Nasional, and RUKN, Rencana Umum Kebijakan Nasional, and then for the electricity, RUPTL, and other ministry level regulations. If we look at these policies, it shows the targets, ambitious targets, commitments by the government. But in the ministry level, this is not translated into the regulation at the lower level effectively. For example, maybe if anybody know about solar panel, the rooftop solar panel, I think almost everybody, the industry, the household, even we as individual, we can install the solar panel on our rooftop, and we can, of course, generate our own electricity. But then the regulation said that the electricity that we produce cannot be sold to PLN. So the regulation said the PLN is not going to buy the electricity generated from that. Meanwhile, the electricity production from the solar panel is abundant. So this caused some sort of discouragement to adopt those kind of innovation. So this what I mean by saying that actually the policies at the national level is already ambitious, is already there. Even there's a roadmap to do that, but it doesn't really effectively translate it to the lower level regulation. So the next slide, in the next slide, we also try to investigate why is it happening. And in short, actually, there are still a lot of things are happening. For example, the coal resources, the coal power plants and all is still needed. And that is why most of the regulation at the ministerial level is still in favor to fossil fuel or coal. So we found out that there's an informality in the formulating the policies in the energy sector. And then lastly, the financing part. If we take a look at the reducing carbon emission and then transitioning to the renewable energy, it is expensive, yes, from coal or from oil to the renewable energy. We need a lot of money actually, and we don't have that, right? Yeah. So we need to generate the financing for this. I think recently the government already secured some sort of agreement with other countries to have international collaboration and funding to do the energy transition. And I'm not going to discuss about how many that we need, because we always have needs for that. But of course, there's a need also to think on alternative financing resources. What we had quite a discussion in our team is that for example, the green sukuk or green obligation is some sort of can be considered as the alternative financing sources. So after we examine all these 4 pillars, and found out the results and findings from this, we reach our concluding remarks that can be also find in the next slide. All in all, yes, next please. So we think that in terms of the actors, there's a need to enhance the dense roles, especially in the Indonesian Climate Energy Network, because it's vital in advising the minister and the president regarding policies in the energy sector. And they also can be advisor to the local government in reducing each local government or each province and carbon emission. And the second one is actually already passed. The policy window in the presidential election or the change of presidency can be a strategic pivot towards renewable energy. And in terms of the policy, actually the draft of the new and renewable energy law is still being formulated. It's not yet published. It's not yet agreed. It should be published soon, I think. Sooner is the better. And then, of course, we need accountability, transparency, and trustworthiness in the energy policy making, and innovative climate financing in order to achieve those targets. Okay, maybe I will stop here. Yeah, thank you very much. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, please give her an applause. Okay, thank you very much for your presentation, Dr. So let's move to the 5th presenter. The 5th presenter will be Prof. John Lovett that will join with us from the Zoom meeting. Prof. John Lovett Is my voice audible to you?
Okay, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to join you. It's still nighttime here in the UK, as you can see. And I wish to greet everybody there in Bandung from here in the Yorkshire Dales. So, Selamat pagi. So, can you put the slide on full, and I'll run from here? Can you see that? Can you see the slides okay?
Yeah, we can see your slide.
Yeah.
Prof. John Lovett, your presentation time is 20 minutes. And so you can start your presentation right now, and time is.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So, Selamat pagi. My name is John Lovett, and I'm the Chair of Global Challenges in the School of Geography at the University of Leeds in the UK. And I'm very grateful for the invitation to speak at the seminar today. And I'd like to extend my thanks to the organizers of the seminar and the rector of Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia for his long-standing support for transnational education and collaboration with Leeds. Today, I'm going to talk about several interrelated topics. The first is the importance of education in social mobility. The second is the role that transnational education can play in bringing down barriers and enhancing global cooperation and collaboration. And the third is how education can play a part in the transformation needed for mitigation and adaptation to our changing climate. Next slide. Education is the foundation of development and social mobility. If people have access to inclusive and equitable quality education, then they can move from subsistence agriculture to the highest levels of government and entrepreneurship according to their abilities and commitment. For this reason, education is Sustainable Development Goal number 4. Moreover, it is not only personal advancement that is gained through access to education, it is also national development. So this is an SDG that governments should be actively promoting and enabling. Next slide. The focus of national education improvement has been on schools, and there is still a long way to go for universal access to school-level education, as this data from SDG 4 shows. University-level education is often expensive, and so it can take several generations of improvement in education and employment before parents can afford to send their children to college. Improvements in internet access have meant that availability of college-level education on the internet have improved. Massive open online courses, the so-called MOOCs, many of which are free of charge, have opened up high-quality tertiary education to anyone who can access the internet. Obtaining qualifications is still expensive, but educational information is now more freely available. Next slide. Here is an example of a free of charge open access university level MOOC. This is the first of my 5 two-week courses about institutional economics on the FutureLearn platform. And this platform is designed to work on a mobile phone screen, so it's very accessible. These courses have been running for more than 10 years, and each of the 5 courses has had more than 25,000 enrollments from participants in 170 different countries. The 5 courses are designed to be equivalent to a 10-credit university module when they're all taken together. I also use them to support my own undergraduate teaching, and Annisa and I have used them for collaborative teaching for joint classes between UPI and Leeds. I have many heartwarming stories from students who have taken these courses and how they've changed their lives. For example, students from war-torn South Sudan, or refugees in new countries, or people with disabilities or illnesses, or people who have been trapped in the labour exploitation or poverty, have all taken these courses and they've all communicated with me how they've changed their lives. Next slide. We also have used the Future Learn platform to create collaborative courses on renewable energy. We created one on bioenergy and another on microgrids. These are much more orientated towards practitioners who are actively working with implementation of renewable energy activities. We used examples and case studies from the countries of the partners. For example, in Indonesia, we used an example of a biogas generator in a village near to Bandung that was part of the project being implemented by RDI. And in the microgrid MOOC, we used the case study of Sumba Island, which was the focus of our joint microgrid project. Next slide. The renewable energy MOOCs were funded from multiple sources in the UK, including the UK Research and Innovation Funding Organisations, the UK Royal Society, and UK AID. They were created by an international partnership from the UK, Africa, Mexico, and Indonesia. And UPI and RDI were the Indonesian collaborators in this case. This transnational global educational collaboration on renewable energy provides information and training for capacity building that draws on examples from many different countries so that the participants can gain an insight into what is happening in different parts of the world. Next slide. We are now in the process of creating a new MOOC about net zero with support from the International Strategy Fund of the University of Leeds. The MOOC is a collaboration between Leeds, the Universitas Gadjah Mada, UPI and Brida in East Kalimantan. The first week of the MOOC provides essential background to understanding the concept of net zero, and the second week focuses on the case study of the new capital, Nusantara in East Kalimantan. The picture here is taken from the week 1 video where Dr. Hafidz Wibisono of UGM is explaining the principle of how greenhouse gases cause global warming. And Hafidz is unable to attend a seminar today because he is in East Kalimantan filming week 2. Net zero is an important policy tool that's been adopted globally by signatories to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change to provide impetus to the transition from fossil fuels to renewables and changes in land use to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Next slide. And here's a picture that I received yesterday from Hafidz of the MOOC week 2 filming in Nusantara, and we very much look forward to seeing the results. And I should also mention here, we're very grateful to the technical video team at UPI who've been supporting the work and have been translating the raw videos into really very professional products. Next slide. Education is an important part of that process because there is a great deal of misinformation being put out about climate change and net zero. Careful scientific research has demonstrated the causal link between greenhouse gas emissions and changes in land use with extreme weather and climate change. Education is required to inform people about this link and where they can obtain detailed information about it. Education is also needed to explain that net zero policy is much more than reduction in carbon dioxide emissions. Net zero is about energy security, energy justice, universal access to clean modern energy, energy security, and a driver of technological innovation, jobs, and economic growth. Next slide. In this analysis of global risks ranked by severity drawn up by the World Economic Forum, the top ranked risk in the short term of 2 years is misinformation. Now, anybody who's been on the internet will know that misinformation abounds. High quality education is fundamental to counter misinformation and lay out practical workable plans to avoid and minimize longer-term risk of extreme weather events. And the top-ranked risk in the long term of 10 years is extreme weather events. Next slide. Universities are now adopting MOOCs as an integral part of their courses. For example, UPI has the stated policy of the development of MOOCs as an online learning platform that allows students from various backgrounds to access lecture materials from UPI lecturers, both free and paid. UPI develops MOOCs and various learning management systems designed to support interactions between lecturers and students in online learning. And UPI now requires all students who want to graduate to complete an international MOOC certificate. Next slide. And the University of Leeds has an international strategy that has embedded partnerships and collaboration in both research and education. And they say in item 3 of the international strategy that they are required to create global partnerships that provide international learning and research opportunities to develop engaged global citizens and world-changing research and innovation, and that the university will develop a range of international research partnerships to deliver shared projects that address global challenges and reduce inequality, extend global education opportunities in subjects and geographies that directly address the UN Sustainable Development Goals through partnerships, research and digital innovation, and create a curriculum across all study levels that is internationally relevant and provides a broad range of inclusive global study and flexible mobility opportunities. And they should support staff to develop their careers through high quality and impactful international collaboration and networking. Next slide. Okay, in summary and conclusion, let's return to the 3 points I raised at the beginning. Firstly, education is a major driver of social mobility. The focus tends to be on school education, with university education available to those who can afford it. It might take 3 generations before it's possible to send children to college. Freely available massive open online courses can short-circuit this process, perhaps not for qualifications, but certainly for the development of knowledge. Secondly, university and professional education has tended to be vertically integrated and taught from national rather than from a global perspective. Partnerships such as the one we've built here are creating genuine transnational education curricula that can help to bring down barriers and enhance global cooperation and collaboration. University level and professional education needs to be free of charge. Qualifications might cost money, but information in the curricula should be freely accessible. Thirdly, by directing the education towards renewable energy and net zero, the MOOCs can play a part in the transformation needed for mitigation and adaptation to our changing climate. There is a global transformation taking place, and countries such as Indonesia are leaders in this transition. So thank you. Terima kasih. It's always an honor and a privilege to work with our partners in Indonesia, and I hope to join you in person again very soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your incredible presentation, Prof. John. And before we move to the next section, let me summarize the presentation for all speakers. The first presenter is Dr. Annisa that explained about the net zero carbon, the net zero in general, and how to achieve the net zero until the global commitment to achieve the net zero. And the second presenter held by Dr. Adam, and he explained about the process of the net zero and also the emissions of the net zero and the role of the companies to achieve the net zero. And the third presenter is conducted by Dr. Apresian that explained about the Indonesia agenda for net zero, energy transitions, and also some cases about non-renewable energy in Indonesia. And fourth, is the presentations from Dr. Niken that explain about the climate government's framework until the Indonesian existing climate energy governance model. And fifth, the last presenters conducted by Professor Don Lovett, and he explained about the role of education as the catalyst for the climate transformation. And he also gave us the example through the UPI policy and also the Leeds international strategy. And we will now proceed the discussion and Q&A sessions. Before that, I will invite all speakers to come forward and have a seat here. So please give all speakers an applause. Okay, participants in person and in online sessions are welcome to submit your questions. And please keep your question concise and directed to a specific speaker. And for the participant in Zoom meeting, if you have any question, please raise your hand and explain your name and your institution. And right now, please raise your hand if you have any question. Okay, while waiting, I found some questions in the Zoom meeting. I will read, I will read the questions. Yeah, the question is from Shirley Kurnia Dewi. Yeah, currently I teach social science and yeah, currently I teach social science in IPK Integrated Christian School for Junior High School. Maybe it is an utopia and a little bit rhetoric. I think to achieve net zero collaborations from all countries as global citizens is the key points. If each country searches for energy sovereignty, while the endowment of natural resources, sunlight, wind, geothermal, fossil fuels, and etc., are not equal, and the technology to generate more climate-friendly energy also not equal. Will it be still possible to achieve net zero? All people tend to live on their own pillow and not care of others. How to raise the people awareness and considerations if we might use education as tool, how we can implement it in the meaningful way, and even the youngest can apply it daily. Thank you. Maybe from the speaker, do you want to answer it? Start with Dr. Adam. Dr. Adam?
Check. I think
This one.
This one is better.
The curse of the microphones. Hello. Okay. So terima kasih banyak Shirley Dewi. I think it's fantastic that we have a question from a high school teacher, and we really hope the high school students are also curious about this topic. It would be really amazing because Annisa mentioned 6 years ago we had a climate roadshow around Bandung, but we didn't visit any high schools, did we? That would be quite exciting, wouldn't it? So Shirley, please do send us more details and maybe we can drop in and visit your students directly one day. That would be absolutely fantastic. I mean, we have a great panel here who might be better able to speak to the question as it was framed. I find it particularly important that we debate this notion of our collective responsibility versus sovereignty issues, for which clearly are driving Indonesia's current idea of pushing forward the net zero commitment from 2050 to 2060. And my goodness, by 2060, who knows when it will be, right? And I think so our call to action today is really, it's about net zero now, right? Because otherwise we can push that target forward endlessly. And I think my appeal, and I may well be wrong, is actually net zero now is a much better approach, even if it still maybe falls into the traps of fragmentation and the ambiguities of disclosure and the lack of crystal clear data on what that actually means. I would much prefer, you know, very targeted action, and especially surely for your high school students, net zero now is probably that would resonate much more with them. So it's not really addressing your challenging question around the sovereignty issue, but I would love to engage directly with your students, surely. But I will definitely now pass on to more capable colleagues to really respond to the content of your question. But thank you so much. And do send an invitation and maybe we can come and meet you directly. Thank you. Terima kasih. Oh, no, it's not. I didn't earn that, but how about the roadshow idea? And then we can move on to the serious question, but actually our moderator can decide. Okay.
Okay, maybe from Prof. John, do you want to give some feedback about this question? Hello, Prof. John. Is my voice audible to you?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shirley, for a very interesting question. It's a very important one. And in my reply, I might actually diverge a little bit from some of the points raised by earlier speakers. I think what we have to do is to look at net zero very much in the round and the multiple benefits that are brought by net zero. The focus tends to be on the carbon balance, and of course that is the whole definition of net zero, that you're balancing the greenhouse gas emissions. But in fact, what net zero does, it brings multiple benefits. And as I mentioned, it brings energy security, energy justice, universal access to clean modern energy security, and it's a driver of technological innovation, jobs, and economic growth. Something I didn't mention in my talk was also the health benefits, because the burning of fossil fuels creates a lot of air pollution that is very damaging to health. For example, in a kitchen, if you're using charcoal or wood fire to cook food, then that generates particulate pollution, and it's called the killer in the kitchen, and it literally kills millions of people every year. And those people that are killed by the killer in the kitchen, by pollution from burning of wood, smoke, and charcoal, it's predominantly women and children, because those are the people who are most exposed to the air pollution in the kitchen. So let's think about net zero a lot more than simply balancing greenhouse gas emissions. And let's think about it in all these multiple benefits. And what tends to happen in the misinformation is that people grasp onto that carbon balance and they say, oh, it's going to be too expensive, it's going to be too difficult, and so on. And what they fail to realize are the multiple economic and social benefits that are derived from a shift away from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources. So that's one point, and I think that's a major point, and I think it's something that really needs to be repeated again and again to counter the misinformation that's going around. The second point is just the economics of it. That the potential for renewable energy, the potential for access to clean modern energy is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And it's now cheaper to produce wind and solar energy than it is to produce energy from fossil fuels. We're seeing now, one of my former students is from Nepal. He recently wrote an article about the situation there in Nepal. And Nepal is starting to really transition towards electric vehicles, for example. Indonesia has got massive potential for transition to electric vehicles and also to manufacture those electric vehicles within the country itself. An electric vehicle is a lot simpler technically than an internal combustion engine vehicle, and it is perfectly possible to produce electric vehicles very cheaply that are suitable particularly for rural use. In Summer Island, where I've done a lot of work together with partners from RDI and various other universities, UGM, for example, Hafiz did his PhD based on the work in Sumba. There are many examples there of communities who have adopted renewable energy generation to provide access to clean modern energy for their communities. The problem comes when the governance of those renewable energy inputs is top down rather than bottom up. In summary, I think that the utopia is possible, and it's not rhetoric. It's economically feasible. The technology there, it's at a price that can be afforded, and the multiple benefits that come from net zero are huge. And I think even if we just focused on the health benefits alone, then you can see that any investments in renewable energy technologies are going to be rapidly repaid in social welfare. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much from your answer, Prof. John. And maybe before we move to the audience in the auditorium, I will let the participants online. Yeah. In online sessions to have a question. So I will let Mr. Hafid Adim Pradana. Could you please open your mic and ask your question directly?
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear your voice. Yeah, maybe, yeah, could you please?
Okay, thank you, all speakers. My name Hafid Adim Pradana. You can call me Adim. Great to see you all. I'm from International Relations Department, Universitas Muhammadiyah Malang. Currently, I'm conducting research in the context of relationship between Global North and Global South countries within the global environmental governance. I would like to address the following question to speakers whose research topics may relate to my area of interest. First, regarding efforts to achieve net zero, is there any diplomatic pressure from global north countries on those in the global south, particularly within COP forums? If so, what form does this pressure take? And the second question, how can we ensure that the global transitions toward net zero is fair and sustainable? Thank you.
Okay, for The speaker will answer this question first.
Hi, Mas Adim. Good to see you here. So
Hello, Mas Apres.
yeah, that's interesting question about the pressure to the developing countries. I'll give like an example during that forum. The pressures happens when the participants drafting the agreement. For example, in COP26 in Glasgow, there is like hot debate between global north and global south. Like the global north, they want like the phasing out the coal, and then the developing countries led by China and India, they play smart. Like we don't want like phasing out, we only want phasing down. So that's the example of how the global north put pressure on developing countries. And the yearly meeting is always like pressuring the developing countries to set more ambitious goal through the NDC. So the nationally determined contribution can be revised every year, but yeah, we know that we rarely increase our ambition like the Indonesia NDC like significantly. So that's the first example. And then the second one about the how to ensure it's fair and sustainable. I think the decision making at the global level should involve more scientists from developing countries, and also, for example, the distribution of funding, like from GCF. So who decide that one? So who decide this amount of money goes to Pacific Island countries or to Indonesia? I think the scientists from the developing countries must be involved more to ensure that the distributional justice ensured here in the decision making process at the global level. So that's my answer. Thank you, Mas Adim.
Thank you very much, Dr. Apres, for your answer. Does anyone want to add some feedback again? Okay.
Check. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. Maybe I will address back to the first question, but this is a more practical one, just sharing my experience. One time I was invited to give some sort of training to the high school and high school teacher and junior high school teacher regarding sustainability and sustainable environment and energy to the teachers. So the teachers are from Southeast Asian countries. So it's conducted in English, and it's quite interested that they have the opportunity to increase their capacity, their knowledge regarding recent concept like net zero emission or NDC and so on. But they also have to do the workshop to translate and explain that to the pupils, yeah, to the translate it into the language that the pupils will understand. So that I think these kind of workshops are good for implementing those at schools, because we cannot say this is the definition of net zero. It will not yeah, it will not be implemented effectively. It's not going to be understood well by the pupils, the junior and high school kids. And another experience I had in Sumba, I think we went there together with John too. They installed, for example, solar PV and other biomass installation, mainly at schools. Not only because they can try to educate the kids there, but because of the practicality also. And because the kids, they need electricity there. So I think I saw a lot of pilot projects regarding energy or environmental projects are started at schools, not in the community, but at elementary schools. And I think it can increase the awareness of the kids at school regarding how to conserve energy or to reduce carbon emission in a longer time. I think maybe that's my 2 cents about this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Niken, for your answer. So maybe Dr. Annisa, do you want to add something?
Yeah, just a short one for Mr. Adim. Yeah, nice to meet you. So I just want to emphasize that we know actually sustainable issue, yeah, everything. I think because it's like an echo, yeah, like going everywhere, right? I mean, from the global to national to local. So actually, yeah, the pressure is always there, of course. But yeah, we have, but the global solve is we have a kind of sovereignty, like Adam said, yeah, that's also important part of this kind of situation. And don't forget, this sustainable thing is not only climate science, but it's also more a lot of political things in there, because like in the case of palm oil, of course, is also there's a trade war and etc. It's not always regarding its biofuel, for example, etc. So I think, yeah, that's adding that how this debate between global north and global south. Yeah, maybe Adam will add on that or answer the second question.
Good. Are we on? All right. Well, yeah, I'm glad Apres took the HI, the IR question. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, we often encounter questions around fairness and expectations. And it's an important question. And whether there's diplomatic pressure, well, I hope there would be, right? If the stakes are this high. Now, the way in which diplomatic pressure manifests, as Apres said, can be, interpreted in many different ways. Joint statements, commitments, fine. But I mean, it brings us back to the earlier problem. And I think the problem that John very nicely captured, which is we can push our broadly defined net zero commitments forward as often as we want, and we can redefine the terms. We can set the goalposts slightly differently. But that's perhaps not the actual issue. And I agree that if you talk about respiratory health, or if you talk about everyday practice, if you talk about how these debates touch our lives, then I'm with you. I'm very happy to look at this in a much more grounded way. So whether it's transitions toward different types of transportation, whether it's everyday practices as it affects our health and education, whether we look at respiratory factors in Riau, which is a major plantation sector driving Indonesia's economic development. We can do this, and we don't really need to frame it as net zero, right? With abstractions and with very far-reaching targets. We can frame this in ways that make sense to different constituencies now. And then, in a sense, it negates the question around diplomatic pressure and the politics of sustainability and climate targets, which are endlessly frustrating and which then can create that sort of downward spiral into questions around, well, do we defend our sovereignty? Is this an attack on Indonesia's economic growth? Is this kicking away the ladder, which is the old South Korean framing of this? Okay, we can debate this endlessly. And in IR and political science, we are very good, at kicking this problem down the road and politicizing it. But on the other way, there are ways in which we can cooperate towards solutions that benefit everyone. But I do like actually tackling this kind of sector by sector and by drawing upon the core competencies that we do have in areas that enable us to see a brighter future. I may not go so far as to call it a utopia, although that's fair. It doesn't bother me either way, but I would very much like to work together as we are doing today to really benchmark progress. And I do agree that sometimes net zero in its broad definition is too distant, right, for our purposes. And I would love to collaborate on achievable targets that push us in the right direction, but maybe don't need to be bound by, the highest order commitments that may not be practical. But of course, we have a really rich and fantastic audience here. I don't know those of us that are online, whether you can see it, but we have a 2-tiered auditorium, which is fabulous. And we have staff and students from Bandung and probably further afield, who are the core stakeholders, right? And who we would love to hear from. So yes, again, that's an answer that doesn't really answer anything, but as a call to action, that's why we're here, right? And I think it's very healthy that we disagree, that we debate, that we have the freedom to do that, which you should not take for granted. And yes, indeed, I welcome some more very, very difficult and challenging questions from our friends here that are with us today. Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Adam. Yeah, I think that's enough for the online sessions for the questions. So let's move to the participants in the auditorium. If you have any question, please raise your hand. Okay, Professor Mamat.
There's a bunch now. Tania? Do they have to get on to or have to go down?
Okay, thank you. My question addressed to you for climate change have now become rule one from sun how to include climate change material and its impact in the formal curriculum, and how to empower teachers, especially non-geographical teachers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Mama, for the questions. Please, to all speakers, do you want to answer the questions? Who will the first? Okay, so I will collect the questions. Maybe one question more. Do you have any questions? Please raise your hand. Okay, so many questions here. Okay, because the time limitations, I will choose one student to ask the question. Maybe, yeah, please come.
First of all, I'm Sausan from Geography Education. I would like to ask a really simple question. As technology grows quickly, the use of artificial intelligence or AI has significantly contributed to carbon emission. what steps or efforts that we can do in promoting wiser and more sustainable use of AI to support zero to support net zero target. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. So I will summarize the questions, especially for the Professor Mamat question. Professor Mamat question asks about how is the implementation about the educations, especially in the class, for the transnational climate actions, net zero, energy justice, and the role of education. Especially the first question is for the applications in the class, and the second question is the applications, the role of education, especially for non-geographical teacher.
Should we? Well, that's great. And may I propose, given time constraints to our moderator, we can take questions in groups, because quite a few students did put their hands up. I think Professor John is our education expert, right? So we may have to indeed call upon him again. But I would also say that Cheryl was our high school teacher. We should ask her as well. You know, how do you embed this in your curriculum and then roll that out more for, you know, we should really turn the question around, shouldn't we? And Cheryl's here, right? So we can put some pressure on our teacher friend and say, maybe, you know, you've got a good way to do that, right? Because I mean, clearly that's frontline education, curriculum, and how curriculums evolve. But maybe Cheryl and John could address that.
Okay, maybe this question is very related to Prof. John. Prof. John, could you please answer?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a very interesting and important question, and I think it also refers back to the previous question that was in the online questions about the relationship between global North and global South. And I think what we really need to do is to reframe the whole debate about climate change and net zero and see it much more from an Indonesian national perspective. The climate change and net zero agenda has been dictated by a small number of countries. It's been placed on a very kind of narrow, vertically integrated scientific track where a great deal of very important scientific work has been done relating greenhouse gas emissions to things like changes in climate. But the reality of it is that has stimulated a technological transition to very cheap, easily accessible, renewable energy. So there are lots of ways into this from an education perspective. I teach institutional economics. So one of the institutional economics agendas that I look at, or hypothesis, is the so-called Porter hypothesis, which says that good environmental legislation stimulates innovation and competitiveness. So if you were coming at this climate change, net zero question from a business management perspective, then there you've got it. You can deal with the Porter hypothesis. You could deal with the way that the institutional changes of environmental legislation have promoted technological changes and created a lot of business opportunities. And it's interesting here in the UK, for example, where the net zero, the so-called climate change committee, have suddenly changed the way that they're framing the question. They're no longer talking about carbon, because carbon kind of leads you up some rather sterile paths. They're talking about business opportunities. They're talking about energy security. So, for example, in the UK, with the fitting of solar panels, the new technologies in batteries, this is causing a radical shift in the employment opportunities for the electrical engineers. And our problem now is having the capacity of skilled people to make this transition. So it's a real economic and business management opportunity, and that's got nothing to do directly with the climate change and net zero question, other than that environmental legislation has precipitated this enormous economic opportunity. I could go on for a long time, but I'm sure that we've got lots of other questions as well. But that's just one example how you could frame the climate change net zero debate into an economic business management opportunity. And you can do the same through health, through transport studies, many other different routes.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. John, for your answer. To other speakers, do you want to add some feedback about this question? Please, Dr. Adam.
Right. Okay. Are we on? Are we off? Okay. Are we good? I mean, fabulous. Just to shift it slightly to the UPI student who asked us about tech and AI. And again, we may have far more qualified speakers here to answer that, but I simply just asked AI to make the case for AI. And basically their answer was, well, sensors, satellite, emissions tracking, and optimization recommendations. Basically, that was the result. And immediately we were given 5 corporate examples of how this is actually happening right now. So I just replaced a human brain with an AI brain to respond to that, and which something you can do, you know, it's on your smartphone right now, but many of you are very politely not texting and using social media at the moment. You will be free in 20 minutes and you can post about the great experiences you've had, but Google DeepMind is contributing to AI outcomes, Microsoft, Climeworks is another, Carbon RE, and Watershed. And they're all looking at ways in which AI has a practical application for environmental outcomes right now. And of course, we have to integrate these new technologies into our research. And we can actually save a lot of time, right? So it's not replacing us, but it's helping us be more efficient. So I think definitely for your generation, you know, utilizing these tools in your research as a time-saving mechanism is excellent, but of course we still need to design the studies, find the inputs, and of course utilize our own creative approaches for doing so. But I think we're encouraging students now to benefit from AI, but not depend upon it. And certainly when you write your essays, be very careful, because generative AI does still hallucinate and we catch it when it does. So we can spot that, right? Yeah. No, so I mean, but definitely this is not my forum. I just wanted to quickly comment on tech and AI to support net zero, definitely, but you know, with some caution, right? Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adam. Maybe for other speakers, Dr. Niken, maybe you want to add some feedback, especially for the implementations of the curriculum, for the climate change.
Yes, okay, thank you. I was thinking about AI actually before she asked about that.
Okay.
But yeah, what I was thinking, why I was thinking about AI, because well, I'm not an expert in curriculum, but as a lecturer, we are obliged to, review our curriculum for the university student every now and then. And last year, we were asked to corroborate AI and big data to our curriculum. So actually, when we are reviewing the curriculum for university or for schools, I think everybody wants a piece on it. You know, put this and put that, put AI, put climate change, put sustainable development. Everything must be put on the curriculum, I think. So it's it will burden the teacher and the kid and the children, the pupils. What I think about is that although we have this big concept of climate change or AI or anything that we think is important, it is important to be included in the curriculum, but we have to, put it implicitly, I think. And we can actually collaborate it with other things. We can give projects that includes all of the general things like awareness to climate change, impact, awareness to being environmental friendly, so that when the student are asked to do the assignment or projects on one project, but they can gain a lot of insights, a lot of perspectives that can include it in all of the things that we want them to learn or to be aware of. That's not an easy task, I know. Yeah, because we cannot, as I said earlier, we cannot only put the definition to the students, but we have to translate it to smaller pieces that they can understand, especially to the youngest one, to the elementary student. Of course, we can introduce them in smaller pieces. That's, I think, my response to the first question. Whereas to the second question, maybe just a little bit, I think the question maybe was triggered because of the recent news that every time we use AI or ChatGPT and then we say thank you or terima kasih, that will generate more carbon emission. Yeah. So when I was after I was reading that, then I stopped say terima kasih to every time I use AI. Yeah. But I think that was one of the trigger. Yeah. So maybe it depends on the developer of the AI. If they realize that saying thanks can increase the energy, then they are the burden is actually on them to create more efficient, energy efficient AI, just by saying that you don't, every time the AI is replying, then they will close it with, you don't have to say thanks. Maybe that's enough, I think, in order to, to prevent people to use more AI. But that's just one practical thing, I think. There are more things, I think. Maybe the other speakers also have other things in mind to, to make a more energy efficient AI. I think that's for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Niken. And now let's move to Dr. Apres, to maybe the first questions about the non-geographical lecture, because you are a non-geographical lecturer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about how to integrate the non-geographical lecturer as our educators, for the climate change action?
Yeah, I think the geographical education program can play a big role here, because you know better than us about the climate change. And I think it will be great if, I've talked with Annisa that you will provide like free courses open for everyone. I think that's a good thing, and we should promote that. So more lecturers, more teachers can know better about net zero and climate change. Yeah, and about the second question, it's interesting. So I would like to follow up Bu Niken's statement about you don't need to be polite to AI, yeah? Because when you say thank you or please, so it costs you 2.9 watt per hours. So please imagine when you say please or thank you many times, so it might cost the world, because daily there are 9 billion searches on ChatGPT, And when we do the maths, that's nearly 10 terawatt hours of electricity a year, and it might run a country, a small country. So I suggest students, so please be critical before you type your question. So please use your critical thinking to formulate a good question before asking so many times. So formulate one good questions and you can save the world. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Apres. Okay, maybe for the last discussion, I would like to ask Prof. John. Prof. John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe for the last questions, I want to ask you about how to integrate for the non-geographical educators for the climate change action, especially for the implementations in the class.
Well, I think because climate is so pervasive, then climate change can be integrated into just about any subject. Um, and you can take it from, if you were teaching physics, you can talk about the physics of climate change. As I mentioned, if you were teaching business management, you can talk about the business opportunities of the transition to renewable energy. If you were talking about urban planning, then the urban planning opportunities. In our forthcoming MOOC, we're using the example of the new capital in Nusantara and the kind of design that Nusantara has been using in order to mitigate and adapt to climate change. So that's in urban management. Even if you are teaching religious studies and theology, you can look at the various discussions that have been going on, both historically and current discussions about the environment within religious forums. So you can adapt it any way you want. I think what one needs to do is to step away from the agenda that has been superimposed on countries by Indonesia by a very narrow elite in a very small proportion of countries who are dominating the commerce and the diplomatic agendas in the world. So it's a question of regaining sovereignty over these very important questions that affect everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Jones. Yeah, maybe this is the last sessions for discussions and Q&A session. So as we reach the end of our seminar, we would like to extend our sincere gratitude to all our speakers for sharing their invaluable insights today. We also thank to all participants, both offline in this auditorium and online through the Zoom meeting, for your active engagement. Let this seminar be a reminder that global challenges like climate change require not only transnational collaborations, but also the strong support from the education sector. I am Tania Septi Anggraini, your moderator, signing off. Thank you for being with us today. Have a great day and see you at the next event. So I will move this session to the Master of Ceremony.
So the presentation and discussion session has ended, and it feels like no time has passed since we listened to, and we also gained extraordinary knowledge from all of our speakers that lead by our great moderator today. So everyone, once again, let's give them a big, big round of applause.
The next event is the handover of plaques and certificates to all of the speakers.
Hmm? Tesnya di bahasa Jepang. Yang kelas 11?
Ladies and gentlemen, let's listen to the adhan for one moment.
Hello, John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Annisa.
Yeah, because you are far away. This is like a symbolic certificate for you. So thank you for joining us, especially because it's 5 in the morning. So thank you so much. This is a symbolic certificate. Yeah, applause for everyone.
Thank you, Annisa. It's a real pleasure to join you, and thank you very much for inviting me. And thank you to all the organizers and the technical support. UPI is really excellent at organizing this type of event, and everybody, the whole team, have done really well. Excellent moderation, terrific panel. So thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you.
For the last session is the documentation session. Dear guests, we kindly ask you to stand for the documentation.
Distinguished guests, we kindly ask you to stand for our documentation session right now. Hey, everyone, I'm gonna count to 3, and you guys please set for the best pose of you. 1, 2, 3. Okay, once more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's done. Thank you so much. Oke, gaya bebas, gaya bebas. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more, one more. 1, 2, 3. Bye. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, finally, all decision of international seminar with the title Transnational Climate Action, Net Zero, Energy Justice, and the Role of Educations have been completed, which means we are all at the end of the event.
On behalf of the organizing committee, we sincerely apologize for any words or actions that may have been inappropriate during the event. And we also thank you for the knowledge provided by all of the speakers today. And thank you to all of the participants who attended today's international seminar. So, ladies and gentlemen,
I'm Tezar Fadila.
and I'm Windri Anggraini.
As the Master of Ceremony would like to say, thank you and see you on the next event.
Thank you so much, everyone.